Square meal of the day. Don't bogart the perk bites. Fuck waffles. Microwave ready. Blah blah blah. Add nutritional value to your brain.
It's time for Perf Bites with your hosts Mark Tomlinson, James Pulley, and Eric Bragler.
Perf Bites.
Whatever.
Mark!
Whatever. Hey, it's Perf Bites time.
Yes.
You know, last night was a little crazy, as would be usual, at the Dynatrace
Hold on.
2018 welcome
What
reception.
happens in Vegas
What happens
stays in
in
Vegas.
I agree. Mostly, you and I are jet lagged from the East Coast.
Sure, we'll go with
So
that.
you're hanging out in Vegas until even, let's say, a reasonable bedtime hour for an adult, 11 p.m. That's 2 in the morning.
Yeah, let's go with that.
We need to sleep more.
Yeah.
So anyway, to everyone out there who's listening to us on the East Coast, it's now the afternoon, but it's still...
And we're still pile driving the caffeinated beverage.
I'm on my third coffee.
I've had my first Dr. Pepper, and I'm eyeballing this display of Coca-Cola sitting in front of us.
Yes, there's some wonderful things. We are broadcasting live from the Dynatrace Perform 2018 user conference. And actually this morning, I guess at 9 a.m., is for the last hour or hour and a half, they've been in the main stage doing all sorts of announcements. So
yeah, we've been watching kind of a live feed of what's going on the main stage.
Yeah, which is actually, there's a monitor near us which actually looks kind of crazy. I don't know what's going on with that monitor.
There's one all the way across the room, but from here it looks like it's about a 7-inch diagonal television.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. But for anyone who's not here, of course, last night we reminded many people that it's a radio show. They can't actually see what's happening here. It's just, most people listening to a
like
podcast.
you had shaved your head, and I now have pink
my
hair
head and pink hair or something.
Yeah.
But actually, people can tune in and watch a lot of the mainstream and other streaming sessions on the live stream. You can go to, Andy said last night, perform.dynatrace.com, and you can click on there and join the live stream. You probably have, I think it's free. It's free to watch. From home if you can't make it to the conference. But a few of our announcements, James, do we have anything in the Perf Bites world we're announcing?
Hold your calendar, August 11th, Perf Bites annual barbecue.
And James's birthday.
Yes, I'm turning 50. So if ever I have helped you in your career
right,
with an answer or a non-answer, please join me on my birthday. We're gonna, a pig is gonna lose its life in support of my birthday event.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The as many Perf Bites events, pigs lose their lives and sacrifice themselves.
Yes.
No, wait. Well, let's see. We had
well, most of the time it's like
poppers,
it's like a shoulder
or
something.
Or
so
rump
this
roast.
time we're going to do a whole pig.
Ribs, do a whole pig. That sounds good.
Yeah.
The only other thing in my calendar is we'll be at SDPCon in April.
Yep.
I'll be at TISQA down in Chapel Hill.
I might do a little road show up there just to say hi to some people.
Yeah, this is going to be great. This is the largest TISQA that's happening in Chapel Hill. Yeah. TISQA. 2018 is going to be huge. But let's talk a little bit about at least the things we picked up from the Twitter feed and such in the Dynatrace world. That there are 3 major things that got announced.
Okay. What are they, Mark?
3 areas.
Let's go with number 1.
Remember last year they did Davis?
Yes. I like Davis.
But Davis was cool, but it was kind of a teaser, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Davis wasn't quite ready for super prime time. But now Davis is actually quite mature. You can use it all the time if you've got full Dynatrace. It doesn't really work with Appmon. It's not for Appmon people. You got to go to the full Dynatrace to get Davis working. But you have to get an Amazon Echo and set all this up.
And remember, Davis is just the voice interface to the artificial Dynatrace and the artificial intelligence engine that's already built into Dynatrace.
Yeah, people don't even know that.
This is confusing to a lot of people where you have this Davis personality. Oh, so Davis is the AI?
Yeah.
Davis is Jarvis?
I think Davis is close to Jarvis.
In an Iron Man analogy?
Yeah, I don't know if you can change Davis's voice.
But you see, Jarvis was the actual AI in Iron Man.
And in this case, Davis is just the voice
interface
AI.
to the AI.
To the AI, right. So the rules-based engine or the other parts of that's actually developed quite a lot now in the latest versions of Dynatrace. So what they've put on the stage this morning, there are 3 areas that came out that I picked up from the Twitter feed. 1, log analytics. Now, if you've been an Appmon customer and you drill down into, let's say you've got excessive logging happening in your application, you would see a certain layer in the layer breakdown, or you'd find that, Java logging, system.log,
or just
log4j.
giving credit to a colleague, Chris Jeans. He just happened to be looking at the log sizes on a whole bunch of platforms where one tier of the architecture was slow, and amazingly enough, its logs were, say,
enormous.
Several orders of magnitude larger than the
everywhere
other
else.
logs. Yes.
Yeah, just a grep for debug. There are a lot of log-based issues from a performance standpoint where most developers think logging is async. It should never be a problem.
Oh.
Until it becomes a problem.
Until we get to like Spectre and all of these things that all of a sudden take more security overhead on every I/O request, on every system call.
Or the ops department decides to put you on NFS. And now you're paying a round-trip latency to a filer somewhere, right?
Well, and even in that case, with the latest, Spectre and stuff, you're looking at an additional cost for non-intelligent network adapters to send that stuff and receive it across the network. So yeah, there is a cost, even though it's async. The CPU pool is finite, the interrupt service pool is finite, and so you can definitely overlog.
Now, 2 years ago at the first Perform that we got invited to hang out and do podcasting, remember Splunk is a huge partner.
Yes.
And they were there in the partner ecosystem. You don't see Splunk here.
No.
I don't. I mean, I can run out and look at the sign.
No,
I don't
see them here.
And that's because my interpretation, and a little bit on the Twitterverse here, was that the Long Analytics is kind of bringing Elk and Splunk as competitors. They're incomplete. Really looking at a couple of things that Dynatrace is going to leverage. One, the single central repository, not 6 different indexes for 6 different logging tools, which is, if you think about it, people already have the problem of, I got logs everywhere. The last thing I need is logging tools everywhere. That doesn't, the single view, single repository, single index is still a goal.
Splunk and Elk and Sumo Logic, they're all designed to really aggregate all of that and provide a single comprehensive interface to look at all of your logs. So I mean, they're attacking it from that perspective, and then you have Dynatrace coming from the other perspective of the inside analytics, inside the virtual machine,
right?
For both .NET and Java, and being able to merge that now with the data. Now, you can always do that inside of Splunk or Elk. You could go out and get it from Dynatrace, but if it's going to be a more natural integration now, that has some intriguing possibilities.
It is. So the single repository, single index is nothing new in the world of log aggregation and that kind of stuff. But being able to have it in the single index repository instantly correlated in the way that other Dynatrace contexts can be applied, right?
So if you go to Splunk, people have been trying to do this inside of Splunk and AppDynamics by getting the Dynatrace data and merging it into Splunk.
And then writing their own correlation engine without any AI, without the expertise and the platforms and the acumens of the agent. And if you look at UEM, is logging affecting my end users? A lot of people, ops guys don't even, logs are way back there. How could that affect end users? It's supposed to be async. My developer said it's async. I trust them foolishly. But now Dynatrace gives you the insight to say, here's the context of a logging-based problem, and now you can correlate to it more immediately, right? Plus, you can put some base rules in the AI that say, hey, these are the top 10 common logging problems. You've got excessive logging. Oops, you just pushed debug logging to prod.
Yeah.
Like, even if it happens, because it's going to happen.
Or even just the scale issue. If just one node is out of scale with the rest, even if
it's an indicator.
All the developers have the log level is set correct, but the developers have set the logging class incorrect on some of their code,
right? Because
that can cause the logs to explode, even with the log level set to
which is from a developer standpoint, if I don't have permission to change the logging level, they'll put stuff in info mode just to do debugging. And because someone told them they don't have permission to use debug mode in dev or test. So that's why people abuse info mode, and then it becomes a debug problem. So correlating in other DT Dynatrace capabilities. So I love the layer breakdown, the drill down capabilities. I'm an old Appmon guy. But even if you think of a Davis interaction, it'll be able to detect and correlate. I'm detecting. You remember when Andy was talking to Davis last year on the road with us?
I do, and Davis was asking those really awkward questions of him.
I know, yeah. Well, it's probably the Austrian accent that throws it off. But the basic idea being, now you'll get not just I can drill down to a logging issue, you can automatically detect, escalate, and look at how a logging issue evolves in the problem evolution. That the tree diagram looks like a vertical transaction flow, and you can see which parts of the system turn red over time. You can like problem isolation and replay. Logging will be a major indicator. So you have one that starts growing more than the other ones. In an app server or a web server, there's a log anomaly, and now you can start mapping to that as a predictor.
I have an open question about this, since we're going to be incorporating more on the log side.
Right.
And this, I asked Andy this last year. What is the ability to incorporate third-party rule sets? If you and I have discrete knowledge on log patterns related to performance, how can we get those either integrated into the AI engine or a private rule set that someone can say, hey, download the cool PerfBytes rules.
Absolutely.
And we'll look at your logs. We'll look at your Dynatrace stuff.
The identifying performance issues in the application exhaust just becomes the pulley rule set.
Exactly.
I think you could pull that off.
Yeah.
At the same time,
PerfBytes rule set.
But the question being, how do we get that in as a partner integration or a third party? Is it like Neo in the Matrix, where he's jacked in and he says, I know jujitsu, so it's like boom, he just jacked it right into his brain. He knows jujitsu. So this would be like, for Dynatrace, you would inject Dynatrace with
inject
jujitsu,
it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have a cache management problem with Jira,
and then cache management, like they're on the roof with the helicopter, and it's like, Tank, I need a helicopter.
I need a new cache policy. Can you help me out here?
And then you get the rules to repair. So you could get identification, correlation rule sets. You could also get remediation rule sets.
Yeah,
that could be very, very powerful. And then hook it up to the AI. The other thing that's really interesting about log analytics that I think is a strength in the Dynatrace world is auto discovery of log file locations. So if you were doing a deterministic implementation of Elk or Splunk, you
have to be very
know.
explicit in your integration of where you send the logs, and for integration to the central repository. And
you have to know before you know to know where to look.
Yeah.
Well, in the world of super complex and changes, and hey, we took a new version, they changed the default log directory, and we just went with the defaults. Since Dynatrace is hooked in and it can see the entire system library calls into system log, boom, auto discovery of logs. Right? So it knows where they are. So you don't have to go hunting for them and then you miss out. So to me, it avoids blind spots. Like there's something's logging somewhere, but no one told me.
So I'm going to put my curmudgeon hat on and say, I want to see this one.
Yeah,
I want to see this one.
Well, that's was on. We didn't see it. Brian Wilson's here.
Logging?
He probably saw the auto discovery of logs.
We've always had that, though.
I know you've had it, but it's like that's part of the integrated with the new log analytics.
Well,
stuff.
part of the more important thing with the new log analytics is streaming out logs into a central repository. So let's say you have.
We already talked about that.
Well, that's
cool,
the bigger
though?
piece.
That's the bigger piece.
I just saw that there.
Not the auto part.
Auto discovery of logs was always there, and then if it's and just like anything, it's based on rules and patterns of what where sending log files go, and then if you have some kind of weird custom log, different name, different location,
or the location changes and you just didn't know about it, it could pick it up and still get it into the repository.
But also I'm saying if you have like a log that's not named, or not following a pattern that we recognize, you can always go in the configuration and say, hey, here's another log that I want you to monitor.
And immediately start and it'll automatically bring it in? Because we were just saying you had to be more deterministic in like the Splunk or Elk world. You kind of have to know where that stuff is and set it up before you deploy. We're going to move you to another mic over there. Brian's going to get another mic. Aha. There you There you go. All right. Yar.
Okay, sorry for tapping there, everybody. So I don't know exactly. So I'm not going to claim to be an expert in the log analytics experts, but from what I've known about it existing already, as I get a piece of walnut on the mic, yeah, it's going to automatically log standard type logs. It's going to automatically detect all your standard type logs for every application. You can custom tell it where if you have your own unique type of log that doesn't follow one of the patterns we automatically match, and doesn't follow a directory we're automatically looking for, you can indicate that in there.
So I can see a path to auto discovery on logs. By the fact that you're watching inside of the virtual machine, you're seeing how the log is kicked off, you're seeing its log destination inside the code.
But I don't think we're doing it that way in this case.
And pick up all that stuff.
I don't know if we're doing that in this case. I think the log analytics piece is a lot more basic. There are directories for every technology where log files exist, and there are log naming patterns that we know to look at our. And again, I don't know. I'm hypothesizing at this point because I don't know the details. So completely making this all up at this point.
We know it would be, but since you're hooked in, you should be able to know where system.log is logging.
Right, and our host agent, which runs on the host, since it's not just a JVM agent anymore, that's a library.
Right.
And the thing, we have visibility to everything. Right, so we can find these things, we can detect them much easier. And to me, the cooler aspect, as I was saying before, of the newer logging capabilities is for those temporary servers that might not be here in another 5 minutes. We're going to stream your log output out to a central repository, so you can go and grab that later and not have to worry about that.
That's very, very cool.
And
so this is, and as it puts out there, I mean, you get all the root cause identification and correlation from the standard Dynatrace experience, right? So the views and everything, which is better. Now, for me and you, as an old Appmon, gurus, we're like, I love my layer breakdown, and I could see, where logging turns synchronous when it's under tremendous pressure, and that backs up into the app. So to me, that's like, okay, that's what Dynatrace helps me do for logging. I can do it in method. If I look in a method hotspot, see, you've got logging hotspot, but that that could be excessive logging where you're have latency. This is going to go one step further, and the question we had at the beginning of the conversation, Brian, is 2 years ago we saw Splunk as a partner. They're not here, I don't think.
Right.
So is this encroaching? Is this a competitive move or a co-opetition kind of thing?
Well, I think Splunk does a lot more with logs.
Okay.
Right. I mean, what I saw in the presentation earlier today is one of the things they're going to introduce is the ability to start charting and graphing based on your log messages, which does definitely encroach some more.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of technologies, there's usually a lot of overlap, but a lot of things that they don't completely do.
Right.
Are we fully going after the likes of Splunk? I'm not quite exactly sure because, would we currently, at least with the new stuff, be able to tell a customer, oh, you have Splunk, you can rip them out and put us in?
Yeah.
Probably not at this point.
Yeah.
But what we found, Splunk is a much more generic solution where you can
and they've also been at it for a lot longer at this point. 3 or 4 years from now, who knows, right? No idea. But the big thing we noticed is, so the reason we have logging in our application in the first place, and I love these kind of stories, is that we're a monitoring tool, and when we were developing Ruxit, the requirement for the developers was you have to use this tool that you're developing to monitor your developing pipeline.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as they were going through, the developers said, you know what, APM is great, one agent stuff is great, method level data is great, we still need logs though.
Yeah.
Logs, in some cases, the developer still needs to go refer to a log.
They just live there.
So product said, all right, we'll build it in.
Show me the
That's
logs.
what we need in order to make this tool. Therefore, it needs to be part of this tool.
Yep.
And it was, people like to call it, eat your own dog food.
So this is Cuba Gooding Jr., show me the logs.
Yeah.
Show me the
logs.
Well, I think the geniuses in Austria, instead of doing the whole eat your own dog food saying, they're like, we prefer to drink our own champagne.
Yes, that's
Andy. Well, Andy says that, yes.
Yes.
So that's what the whole logging came from.
They do champagne in Austria?
Sure,
yes,
they can't call it champagne, but it is.
Well, they can buy it and have it.
Buy it and have it, yeah.
But
it wouldn't be their own.
So that's where logging has come out of
the one agent,
the pipeline usage of logging, right?
Yeah.
Now, is it going to mature and grow into something that's going to compete more and more with, say, what Splunk does? Which, again, I don't know 100% of everything
All right.
that Splunk does. I don't,
Right.
I work on the pre-sale side. I know a lot of it, but
Right. So
at some point,
we'll
yeah.
see where this matures, but the potential of having more capability come in the Dynatrace world around logging,
yeah, I mean, the
is
capabilities
is only good
there
stuff.
are already amazing. Obviously, I think there are things, Splunk might be able to grab logs from places where we wouldn't be able to put an agent, maybe.
But it is applying. It's Dynatrace making a statement in this beta for analytics related to logging, which brings it into the full
were you in the
analytics
session?
trend. No, we were watching the live stream.
Oh, so
the live stream, you can
That's
get it
right,
at
yes.
perform.dynatrace.com.
So the one thing, though, and here's the biggest thing. This is where I think it might be.
We haven't covered the other two
This
yet.
is no, based on the logging still, where it might be almost irrelevant if how much we're encroaching on Splunk
Splunk or Elk or whatever.
because it's a different approach where they mentioned, I don't know if you caught it in there, that they're going to do AI analysis of the logs.
Right, that's the analytics
Which
part.
that is
huge.
that's a whole different
Yeah.
side, completely different bit.
So leveraging the existing capability, making it a little more robust, and then
Applying
it
the
opens it up to
machine
the
learning
full
to it. Yeah,
machine
yeah.
learning analytics. So that's log analytics. That's differentiated. I think that's differentiated from your Splunk Elk experience of most people that say, "Show me your logs," right?
Well,
roll me an index and then make me a Splunk query master.
It addresses an issue that many Splunk and Sumo Logic and other and even ElkSat customers have, which is we want to see the deep diagnostic stuff so we can correlate it all.
Right.
Now, this is a specific use case for those logging tools, which is fairly narrow in
Right.
the analytics side of the house.
Exactly.
For instance, like all of these log analysis tools, they really just operate against text files. So, I mean, they could be pulling files from systems that really Dynatrace doesn't even integrate with very well. They could be providing data files and logs from mainframe hosts, from remote non-integrated systems for business purposes, sales reports that are generated. So
Right.
very different types of data, but definitely
There's always going to be some gaps, for sure.
that area that many customers that have both deep diagnostics tools on the APM side as well as log analysis tools, they
Right.
spend enormous amounts of labor to try and integrate those two data sets.
But here's the big difference.
And this will make it seamless.
Here's the big difference, though, and I'll even say this of Atmon. So many tools out there, including Atmon, which I love. I've been an Atmon user for years and years. Love Atmon, right? I'm what we call internally an Atmon hugger, although I've come to see the light on Dynatrace because it's just really getting amazing, right? Tools, I think, like Splunk, like Atmon, like most other tools that are out there now, provide data. They do not provide information.
They're
Data collectors.
They're data collectors. They're not
collect data.
They're
Here's
not
the data.
meaning creators.
Right. And that, I think, is one of the big differences in what we do, is that we're turning that data into, in many, many cases, information. Not just the whole AI, here's the hotspot, but correlating
let's go with
all
a
the
different
dependencies.
term. Actionable intelligence.
No, it's information. Well, actionable intelligence, but if you want to keep it keep it to the definitional, it is information. Information is
semantic of the information age. You're absolutely right. That
is
is the
taking
definition.
and applying
that's
meaning
the
to data.
leveraged definition of. Let's go to the next one.
Yes.
In the list of announcements that came out is management zones.
Okay.
So in Dynatrace, as we heard from Andy yesterday in casual conversation, everything in Dynatrace now is a tag. Everything can be tagged. And so there are ways to arrange tags. How do management zones, is it a way of leveraging and tagging, and is it just a hierarchical or an abstraction layer for managing stuff? What did you hear about management zones?
Well, let me put it in the terms of a true microservices architecture, because that gives you the best example.
Right.
Anything, the smaller environment you get, still very important. But to make an example of it, let's go with this big monolithic type application, right? I mean, sorry, big microservices.
Microservices, sprawling swamp of microservices.
You have 500 services. You have 30 instances of each service running in 15 data centers. You have teams in-house working on some service, some teams out-of-house working on some services, and you have one agent on all of it. So when you look at that service
topology.
Yeah.
For saying, yeah.
I should know the name of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Huge spaghetti, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's relying on AI to analyze it. But when you're like, well, I work on these two services and this is what I care about, I want to look at views specific to this.
Yeah.
Well, Dynatrace is just, it's all or nothing, right?
So it is sort of a way to
management zone now. Yeah,
deconstruct pieces.
It's simple. You're going to chop it in. You can have here's everything that's infrastructure. If the infrastructure team only cares about infrastructure, they're going to have all their views that are just infrastructure. Yes, we are. Would you like to share a story, or were you in the morning session?
I was just over in the main session. I'm just kind of looking around here. What do you guys do?
We're talking about management zones today.
Management zones?
Yes, actually, there are two different live podcasts you're on right now, Bob.
Oh, I don't need a podcast, man. No.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So back to management zones and tagging.
Okay, so you're going to
you can
have
slice and dice,
right,
vertically,
and then you're going to be able to filter your dashboards by these things. If let's say we have a third-party vendor working on one of our other services, we want them to have access to the Dynatrace data, but we want them to see everything else.
Right.
Well, great. We tag their stuff as in a management zone, give them access, set their access to just that zone.
Right.
Now they're walled.
Yeah.
But if there's a problem but if the problem to their service is triggered by something on a host on another side, they're going to see that it's triggered by the dependency. They won't be able to drill into that.
But they can
or
see
then they might be able to. No, I don't think they will. But they'll see it's triggered by a host
and
3 services
something over
away
there, yeah.
is impacting you. Work
Right.
with them and get it figured out.
So I have a question on LDAP integration for management zones and managed objects.
Cool.
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh, darn.
I don't deal with LDAP so much.
No, we're-
I just hit the edge knowledge. That was it. It's like, okay, for all these management zones and managed objects and things of that nature, permissions, how is all this stored? Is it integrated with LDAP? Is it
well, you're going to be able to set user permissions.
Yep.
You're going to be able to set your permissions and assign people to management zones.
It seems a natural way to store all of this data. And if I have an Active Directory environment, do I use Active Directory? If I have Open LDAP, do I use that?
In the Appmon world, you've got all the auth module integrations that you would need, but you also have you can slice and dice down to agent groups and hosts and all sorts of stuff. You can build out a very elaborate group structure, whether it's local to the Dynatrace auth engine, auth module, or you're using an external LDAP or Active Directory. I think there's something interesting here because James and I were talking earlier about offline about test data and InfoSec and data classification.
Mm-hmm.
People look at Dynatrace and they're like, do I have PII data masked? Because you can see everything inside Dynatrace. Maybe these management zones are also good to say only certain people can dig that deep.
Right.
And
that's
other
going to come
people
into
can
that.
only see other data, right?
But just want to clarify, Dynatrace is not going to automatically collect the PII data. Right?
No.
Some things of it. If you're going to try to capture someone's, so let's say social security number, that's not exposed in us by default. Someone actually have to go and configure and say, hey, I know the SSN is in this method argument, and go in and I'm going to collect it.
But most InfoSec people that don't understand much in the world will just say, you have some hook into something, therefore
you can see it.
You're not trusted until you prove to us that you have capabilities for access control, flow of information, storage and encryption of info, all that kind of stuff. So this seems like management zones would be a good fit for regulated compliance type environments. I'm in that in the financial sector.
Are you hoping your chief security officer doesn't get hold of your management zone policy editor?
We'll have a lengthy conversation about aligning the management zone and accesses to the data classification.
Yeah,
anyway,
the one last important thing about the management zones is it's interesting because it's going into public beta, I think in March, you said?
In March, yeah.
And we do not have a date for it yet.
That's fine.
For when it's going to go, because specifically, this has been something customers have been desiring for quite a long time.
Right.
And if we were to say it's going to go into beta and EAP, and by June we're going to release, we don't want to take it that route. We want to spend time with the users who need this to figure out how do we finesse this, how do we fine-tune this, how do we make it. And once we say it's good, then it's going to go.
So I was going to add in our conversation with Red Hat, but also talking to Pivotal, in the OpenShift, in the Pivotal world, The management zones are the alignment, right, between like Kubernetes labels if you're running in the public cloud or something like that. Management zones is also not just for, like we talked about, access control and stuff like that. It's about cooperation with cloud-based platforms or the labeling you would do in Kubernetes or something like that. The namespace.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of those things like in Pivotal, you're probably going to be able to just inherit a lot of the tags you have in those components and bring it right in and then apply them.
Some kind of
right.
mapping.
You have let's say in Pivotal, you have forget the regions or whatever. You have the dev region, the prod region, and all that.
Yep.
That you're going to be able to pull right on in.
Chris told us it's in their nomenclature, it's projects.
Yeah.
But it's leveraging namespace and labels within the Kubernetes world, which is
AWS,
great. Yeah. For OpenStack.
all those tags. I mean, we import almost all these tags from these different things, so that's going to play.
Right. So,
right on into it.
So management zones is a way that the
slicing and dicing.
Future of Dynatrace can integrate more easily on something as simple as tagging and labeling.
It's just slicing and dicing, giving you ways to filter and restrict, or even if you're not restricted, you could say, I want to see this dashboard only in context of this.
Right. The third thing that was under digital experience was this key performance metrics. We didn't really I didn't get the full scoop on what this third item was. What was your take on this? What is this?
So that's the first.
It sounds so generic.
That's the first I've heard of as well. And we had a conversation with somebody yesterday. I don't know if it was here or in one of the classrooms.
Yeah.
Where they talked about user experience index. Do you remember that?
UEM, yeah.
Yeah. No, not UEM. The user experience index versus AppDex.
User experience index versus AppDex.
Right. So right now, sorry for chewing some seeds and nuts on air.
You got to have high fiber. Keep your fiber intake happening.
So right now we have AppDex, and then last year we introduced Speed Index and Visually Complete.
Yeah. Was
but
that Dynatrace 7 was Visual Complete, right? Last year at Perform, we talked all about it. Yeah.
And then, so problem is that we said, okay, these are the metrics you're going to use. And some people say, well, for my pages, I really care about time to first byte because that's SEO.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the example they
Depends
gave.
on the design of the app, but yeah, absolutely.
So we have all these other metrics. We have all these other W3C timings already.
Yeah.
Now this seems like it feels a little bit more like a minor announcement because the data's already there.
Right.
We're keying off of a metric. But for the longest time, we only allowed you to really key off of AppDex, and I think maybe Visually Complete. Now they're saying, pick any one of them.
Pick anyone
that
you
want. So you can have a rendering KPI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your KPI flexibility.
So hopefully people understand what rendering actually means. And
it has to be a W3C metric or one of ours. You can't
because if you look at the
it has to be one of the ones that we have. I don't know which ones exactly we have.
Yeah.
But if it fits into the list of what's ours, if whatever this rendering metric you speak of, Mr. Pulley, which is this metric?
Rendering is something that everybody asks for, and nobody really seems to know what it is.
And they all have a different idea.
Ultimately, the common parlance is, what is the cost of the code running on the client? And how much is it adding to my response time? Okay. The technical definition is how long does the page compositing feature take inside of your rendering engine
so it's a subset
on your browser.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a technical metric, which is very specific. There's a common metric, but it seems like every single person who's, getting to understand what it means to do performance testing is being driven by a manager that says, I have to understand what the rendering cost is.
Right.
And it's really too late to do that in test. They should be asking that much earlier. And if Dynatrace can provide that in dev environments and functional environments and begin reporting that metric back, the earlier we ask that performance question, the cheaper it is to fix.
Yeah.
Right.
So it takes what were once kind of boxed in. Dynatrace is saying AppDex and these two things.
Yeah.
Versus
it's going to open up to a lot more of them. I'm sure we're going to find out feedback from customers. Oh, we want to do this and that. Because right out of the box we saw, and I cut you off, I'm sorry. But I saw right out of the box we're going to have, you can set one, I believe they were indicating you could set one of them for page loads and set a separate one for your XHR actions.
And then those are the metrics that get used in the AppDex formula. So
but
your
also the
AppDex
AI,
aggregate and the AI.
Well, I don't know if they'd be used in the AppDex. Was that what they were saying?
Well, AppDex is a loose algorithm, right? It's tolerating, it's frustrated and tolerating.
Right.
I
thought the thing they said that's what the AI is going to use, but you made us so. I don't remember which they said. I thought you said that's what AI is going to use.
The source metric is now flexible.
Yes.
behind
Yes.
those performance KPI.
And I'm sure we're going to see a lot more development from it, because I can
That's a
imagine
cool
already someone's going to say, for my XHR actions, they can all be this one, but for this one particular page, I want it to be different. So I'm
Because
sure
of
the
how
next
we built it.
iteration, they're going to have flexibility of, you're going to be able to group XHR actions into some for this, some
There
for
you
that.
go.
Probably, that's
Yeah.
typically the cycle of these things that we see.
and fully supporting async and depending on what you built into the web app there. So
Right.
there you have it. Those are the three. That's
But
actually
the last one is the one I'm most excited about.
there's a fourth one.
Replay.
I didn't catch replay. We just grabbed the last.
So a little while ago, we brought up.
So Mr. Wilson is
Yes.
breaking news here.
Breaking
Item number 4.
Breaking news.
This just in.
I'm Sam the
hot off
Eagle.
press.
Just in with replay.
Gary Gnu with good no whatever. Anyway,
Oh,
so several months ago, you might have seen a press announcement that we bought this company called Qumran,
Yeah.
which is a replay technology.
Right.
Basic idea is they went and wood shopped it. They stripped it back down. They're feeding into Dynatrace. So now, for all your real users, and again, I know as much as they've shown us. I don't know anything else.
That's fine.
I'm dying to get on and find out more.
Yeah.
But the idea is going to be, you'll go into your RUM, aka user experience configuration,
Right.
click another slider, and along with the JavaScript that's going to get you all your UEM data,
Right.
it's also going to, in some way or fashion, not movie record, but looks like a movie, record the entire user session that you can watch on your screen as they're clicking and typing and interacting with your website. So now, when you have an error or some things going wrong, you say, okay, I have a JavaScript error and I don't quite know. I can see what the error is, but I have no idea how this really impacted the page, why this is responsible for driving down things.
Right.
You can go click the replay button and see what the user saw and acted. In the example they gave, there was a
previous
spinner.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a nice little spinner go. They did a country drop down, and a spinner popped up, and it was a single page app. So they
So this,
clicked
this,
off of it, went back into the cart, and the spinner was just
Leveraging
So
an
going.
this is
HTML5?
replay really at the client layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could we replay 10,000 clients all at the same time?
Well, you would have to have 10,000 browsers all at the same time open.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. Why
Yeah,
would you-
that's-
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Well, no. It's because it's not clicking through. It's not making the back end. It's not making the back end local.
So it's more of a.
This is a.
this is
think of it as a recording. Very tea
like
leafish.
tea leafish.
Yes, but
Yes.
tea leaf
Right.
kind of died a long time ago with that stuff.
Yeah.
They can't really do the single page apps and all this. This is. It's same thing. It's a visual recording of that data.
Right.
Meanwhile, someone over at Sauce Labs is crying because that means that we can't really replay 10,000 browsers all at once.
Right.
No, it's not.
That would have been,
So this technology, this idea of the visual thing gets back to like in the testing tool world, automated testing tools, functional testing tools. The screen capture capability has been there for a very long time. It was always at small scale in a little test lab, maybe a
was
single
it
session.
single screenshots or an actual
It would be a video.
You're seeing, okay,
Yeah. So some of the capabilities have been there on very small scale.
right.
Never
And,
this.
to
I
me-
think about the Tea Leaf. There was a moment in there where Tea Leaf did this. The HP stack had a little bit of this, but it never scaled. It was never large.
Well, to me, the biggest question in
stuff.
my head is how do we do this without throwing tons of overhead? And I'm
On the
going to ask
client.
that question because I work for this.
chewing up someone's battery.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's for mobile,
I think this
but
is,
it might be.
if you
I
ever-
think this is clearly like an MPEG-4 type item.
Well, I don't
where
even think
we're
it's MPEG. I don't think it's
we're
MPEG-4.
only sending differences in the screens.
Well, no, but you're seeing the mouse. You're seeing the type. Well, that's difference of the screens. True, but you're seeing the mouse move. You're seeing the letters come up on the typing. Now, interestingly enough, they already had mentioned, well, that means they're going to see people entering their credit card. And the answer is, sure enough, we are.
Yes.
That's why when you set it up, you're going to say credit card fields don't capture. So when you think about this kind of technology, there's a lot of
It's Snowden.
security issues or privacy issues that
Yeah.
come in. Obviously, we don't want to capture people's
So this-
numbers.
this might-
so this is built in. This is going to be built into it.
But it might be
You're going to have that
a
restriction
good,
process.
a good fit for an internal tool, internal employees.
I think it's going
and
to be good
stuff
for
like that. But,
everybody.
well,
external.
of course, but I mean, when it comes to being like a consumer public kind of piece, then you probably run into these privacy issues. And
Yeah, but I
things
mean,
where-
but they're building that into it. So the cool thing about Qumran is that we, I don't know if you ever met Artie.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was behind this project. He went and evaluated a ton of these replay type technologies,
Right.
and found these. The Qumran team was basically the ones doing it kind of the Dynatrace way, where we're like, we're going to go completely different than the way everyone else is doing it. We got a whole new way we're going to go for it.
Right.
So, I think we're all really curious and really interested to see how it goes. And especially myself, I work on a lot of the agentless RUM projects.
Right.
Something like what used to be called Demandware, which is now Salesforce Commerce Cloud.
Right.
Where it's a SaaS application, but it's a public SaaS application. So we can inject our script into the pages,
right?
But we can't put an agent anywhere, so we use cores and send it back. Mm-hmm. So that naturally restricts the richness of the data we get because we have no back-end application data. We're getting user information, which is a ton more than anybody else can get in general. But now if we can say to these people, at least for what I'm excited about, say, oh, and by the way, we can also add replay to that. So that when you do have those customers, your customer resolution center, all those other kind of stuff where, Mark calls up because he was trying to buy a new microphone.
It would be really nice if we could bundle replay so we could see the individual session on the back end. And like in one, if we have a 2-screen computer, one screen we can see the user actions, and on the second screen we can see the actual Dynatrace back end calls directly related to that from that individual client.
Well, it's sort of there. I mean, you have the entire visit, you have all the clicks and all the pages on it, and now you're watching a visual of that. So all you would do is like, oh, it happened there. I can go back and click on that user action in the visit, and now you have that whole full stack call of it. But it's not. You wouldn't be clicking on the video.
Yeah.
You'd be just going back to your user session.
Yeah, I was going to say while the video runs, it would actually bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so you'd be able to watch it.
Yeah.
True.
Qumram.
Yes.
That's the weirdest name.
It is. Now they're from
Qumram.
Now they're from. I forget where they're from, but the development team is in Barcelona.
But there's something.
Isn't that the name of a city in Marvel's?
I thought it was a spice. Like, hey, where's the Qumram? I need a quarter teaspoon of Qumram.
That was actually a nice
my turkey dressing.
That was you're talking about that exotic drink, which is a mix of rum and cumin.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think so. Spice.
That would taste terrible.
So I'm really trying to also insert myself into this the replay as early as possible because I love Barcelona.
Yes,
and I need to
go to Barcelona.
I need to be sent there.
Yeah,
for
and they
work.
have that like sliced beef stuff that's really, really good.
It's like the prosciutto, but
it's like a
Spanish
super sliced beef prosciutto.
And they have that really fantastic cathedral there.
Yeah.
The Gaudi Cathedral.
It's a bunch of old churches
Familia,
there too. There's a chocolate museum.
Yes.
There's a chocolate museum.
Okay, it's a wonderful. It's the only European city I've been to twice.
Yeah, you're right. There's the Getty there as well.
Yeah, the
Sagrada Familia.
Yes.
So my last visit to Barcelona was an HP show there, where I was sick as a dog the entire time, never saw the city, and then drove overnight at super high speed just to get to Frankfurt and get out of there.
Okay.
It was a good.
Is that the one involving the BMW story?
Yeah, that was an awesome story. All right, so we're going to wrap up part one.
One other last piece, though. So one other last piece that they kind of talked about was So I was talking about agentless RUM, which was like Salesforce Commerce Cloud and all.
Right.
But there's also the concept of, let's say, Office 365, Salesforce proper, internal tools that are SaaS-based. Right? Again, you can't inject any agents anywhere. You can't even inject
you don't own them.
The JavaScript onto the page because the way, let's say, you don't own. There's no way to get it in there.
Yeah.
So
I actually came across this exact problem because our internal organization is going mostly to SaaS-based applications, Office 365 and things of that nature.
Example.
Okay.
And
so
I'm interested to hear your path because I figured out a path to get a timing record out of it.
So this is again RUM data only, and we have a browser plugin that will inject the JavaScript tag
locally in the client.
So you go ahead and set up the application in Dynatrace. You grab the tag. You download the browser plugin. You pop in the tag. You say this is for Office 365 URL, and now it's going to collect all the RUM data, send it back to your Dynatrace instance.
For these very standard URIs that are related to Office 365 or some of these SaaS.
Well, you just say domain Office 365, whatever.
Exactly.
Or domain Salesforce.com.
Yeah,
right.
And the nice thing is, since it's a plugin, if you have a policy, you could just deploy it to all your employees.
Now, did you find a different? I would try to do that at a proxy. I would inject it as a pass-through on the proxy.
Yes, Squid. Squid has a bit capability of grabbing this data as it passes through. You can actually get the W3C
get the client ID
taken,
or the host,
so you can get the request time and the response time
that's
directly at the proxy, so you can
then
pull
we don't
that
make
data
money.
back.
Yeah.
But also in the Squid side of the house, you can correct the cache management problems on your software as a service domain that they screwed up, that's impacting response time. So you can set your Squid policy to fix the
Just
CDN
be careful if
issues.
that might invalidate your license agreement with Microsoft or Salesforce.
Well, it's not just Microsoft. It could be any software as a service solution.
But look at what Fastly did for all these years. I mean, that's what they were basically
doing.
It
could be
proxy-based accelerators.
hosted Jira, Office 365,
Any of the hosted
Salesforce.
stuff. But it's great for hosted
CRM.
folks.
Yeah.
So you're no longer you're now no longer limited with that. But again, you're going to have to deploy to your browsers, but this is specific. You wouldn't be doing this for, let's say, Salesforce Commerce, where you can't inject, but everyone's out on the internet because you can't get that thing out there. Right. This is for your internal users.
Okay, so this is internal only software as a service
how
items.
are you going to deploy a browser extension to your customers out in the real world? You're not, right?
So, well, okay, if it's a browser extension, it really doesn't care what it's monitoring.
But they'd have to get the configuration. I mean, you can use it for anything, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, nobody, for something like Salesforce Commerce, which is not Salesforce, this is former Demandware, right? The people who own and run Salesforce Commerce have access to their code. They can inject the JavaScript agent directly into their page.
So in my particular case was, okay, I'm a company and I'm moving from platform as a service to software as a service, and now goes from a gray box or white box to a black box, and all I have is service level agreements that I can monitor, be it uptime and response time.
Right.
And most, if you look at the software as a service agreements, the commercial
what kind of
third-party
software
external.
is this? Give me an example of a software for this.
Let's say it's I don't know, pick a CRM that's hosted, Sugar CRM. Their service level agreement is on uptime. It's not on response time, and for obvious reasons. When you write your own service level agreement,
they don't
for someone's
control
gonna
the
sign
last
up,
mile. They'll never sign up for that.
Exactly. But if I'm an enterprise and I'm highly dependent upon this, I want to know what the response times are of those critical business transactions, which are dynamic.
Well, you'd be able to get this.
But these are your internal. But these are your internal applications, right?
No. These are external. These are external
to customers
applications.
No, but I mean, they're used by your internal employees.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying the browser one makes a lot of sense here, because
external app, internal client.
As an organization,
Gotcha.
you can control a device policy to push the agent to all of your machines.
Sure.
And then
With
put
the
the browser
configuration-
put the browser plugin in there.
With the configuration, so that your employees don't even have to necessarily be aware, or they don't have to care.
It's
almost like pushing an agent to every laptop.
Yeah. So if you don't have a proxy that you can collect this at, the browser-based agent to send it back to Dynatrace is the solution in this case.
I like both solutions.
Yeah, I mean, there's always grow your own.
I mean, we're both attacking the SaaS problem.
Yeah.
I mean, even now there's open monitoring, stuff, right? So there's someone made it and designed it and maintains it and keeps it up to date for you.
That's right.
Or if you want to be adventurous and constantly be writing your own monitoring code and trying to maintain that,
Yep,
you can do that.
So you can go with Dynatrace and leverage all the open monitoring right into Dynatrace.
Yeah, you can pull that stuff in there too. We'll pick up on some of it.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting thing about when people decide to create their own instead of buy a vendor. In a few years, they realize we've got a lot of problems we have to figure out, but we're the only ones who know this.
Yeah, we have to solve a lot of problems, and I can't hire someone to fix them.
Yeah. But anyhow,
Yeah.
it's
all right.
There's a lot of people it's good for. Let's wrap up. Sure.
So the three, yes, a little bit of a wrap up here. The three things we covered that we just heard from the main stage this morning. One, log analytics, which is taking existing log capabilities. That's coming and extending it, doing some cool things with it. That's beta. That's beta. That's going to be coming in no specific time frame or something.
No, there's something coming soon. I forget when they said. Some of it's now.
Some of it's in there now.
Some of it's right now. It's there.
Right. Management zones will be beta March-ish.
Yes, but if you really need to get it now, you can go. If you're here,
Yep.
Or if you're not here, you can talk to Guido, and you might be able to get into EAP.
Management zones, leveraging the tagging inside Dynatrace. The digital experience around have more flexibility around key performance metrics.
Yep.
Under the covers, you're not just using Visual Complete. You're not just stuck with the same old Apdex
or whatever.
Yeah. So now you get some flexibility. And this last one, Replay.
Replay, yeah.
Qumrum. Not cumin. Not Cameron.
Qumran.
Qumrum.
Qumran. That's where Iron Fist comes from in the Marvel.
But now they're Dynatrace.
Now they're Dynatrace. All right, so this was our morning session on Tuesday here from Dynatrace Perform 2018 in lascivious Las Vegas.
Nice by Andy Grabner.
By Andy Grabner. We're going to come back in the afternoon, maybe grab some more performance stories, and maybe pick some things up from folks in the session, see what they learned.
Maybe grab a couple more vendors to chat
with when it's quiet in here in the afternoon. So tune in later on for the Tuesday afternoon session. Then I think we have a party tonight. We'll maybe grab some live stuff
and everybody,
as well.
don't forget to Mark. What time are you?
3:30 or something on the main stage. You can go to perform.dynatrace.com.
Perform.dynatrace, and you can see
Pacific
Mark in all his glory.
Mark actually wore a clean white dress shirt.
I'm
going to make sure I spill some coffee on it.
I'm sort of dressed
Shall
up.
Shall we sabotage him?
I'm still wearing Perfbite's Converse All-Stars, so that's still going to be good. Everyone else is going to look really good. I'm just going to look like me.
Yeah.
You could just say, I tried to match my laces to my hair color.
I tried, but it's not close enough. It is much more close to the purple quadrant in the Dynatrace logo.
Yes.
It's not really, is it? Yeah, it is a quadrant. It's not 5 there.
Yeah, okay. All right, well.
We'll catch you guys in the
everyone.
afternoon session. Anything else? Caffeine is good with lunch. Breakfast, I really was lacking. I wanted bacon, more bacon.
Yeah, I think the bacon's gone.
I think that's the only thing I would say. We are giving away things at the booth. If anyone is listening, you can come take some stuff.
Nice by Mike Villager.
Yeah. So, we'll see you guys in a little while.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.